Hello everyone, welcome to Learning with Vodafone webinar series. In this webinar, we are going to focus on Module 3, which is based on application programming. And under this webinar, we will be implementing a simple tic-tac-toe game using Python program. Today we are going to learn how to implement a simple tic-tac-toe game using Python program. So here in this particular webinar, we are going to understand why Python programming is important and how can we use basic constructs of Python to build a simple game environment. In this slide, we are taking the reference of a IEEE Spectrum magazine, which lists out all the 10 popular languages of 2018, out of which here we can very clearly notice that Python comes on top. So this clearly becomes a motivation that why our students should learn Python, because it's one of the most popular languages of 2018 and probably it will continue its ranking in the coming years. What are the basic advantages of Python? The first and foremost thing is Python is easy to learn and use. It has a very simple syntax. Just as we speak, we write. It is interpretive based language, which makes the debugging easier. Since it is not a compiler based language, the speed of this language when you compare with a compiler dependent language is a bit slow. Because of its interpretive nature, we can easily identify any possible bug in the program and solve it then and there. We don't need to worry about managing memory in Python programming, since all the memory management is done by the interpreter at the backend, that too using dynamic memory allocation. So whether you are using a simple Google page or you are using an Instagram page, the memory management is taken care at the backend dynamically and user gets a very fluid experience. At the same time, Python is a modern, high-level object-oriented programming language which helps programmer to write much meaningful and real-world applications with the help of Python. Python is quite popular among various universities such as MIT and Stanford, and it is also used widely across industries such as Google, NASA, Yahoo, YouTube, Facebook, Amazon, and many more. Python have a large and ever-growing set of libraries which puts Python as a very strong development language compared to any other programming language. Because of its rich libraries, any user can start working on whatever area and surely he or she would get help in terms of its available libraries, which would in turn help a developer not to reinvent the wheel from the beginning but to take off from a decent level. Now this is the Python ecosystem where you can notice that we have a core Python which comprises of interpreter, your programming constructs and certain standard libraries, and then we have few other libraries which are more popularly used in various applications of data analytics or machine learning such as NumPy, Matplotlib, SciPy, PyQt4 for your GUI development and many other libraries. We have certain IDEs like Paizo, Spider, Ninja, PyCharm, which can be used for a decent programming interface and help the developer work efficiently. Now in this webinar, we are going to implement a tic-tac-toe game, which we all have played many times in our childhood. So it's a pen and pencil game for two players where one player will put a cross and another player can put a circle mark. Typically, this tic-tac-toe game would be in a grid fashion of 3x3. The player who succeeds in placing 3 of their marks in horizontal, vertical or diagonal rows wins the game. Because of the simplicity of the tic-tac-toe, it is often used as a pedagogical tool for teaching the concepts of good sportsmanship and the branch of artificial intelligence that deals with the searching of game trees. You can download the reference material for this webinar from the given link. To complete this webinar, your computer or laptop must have Ubuntu 16.04 LTS. In case you are using Windows-based computer, you should have a VMware workstation or VirtualBox with pre-installed Ubuntu 16.04 LTS. Now let's dive into the actual coding and understand what's being done there. So here in the very first line we have said as import OS. So we are going to import a particular library called operating system. And in this library is quite useful when we try to clear the complete display. So we are going to call this function os.system with a single quotes clear. So this will help to clean the display every time when the user makes a new entry, and it will refresh the entire screen for us. Here we have a function called display board and the argument is board. So let's first come to the main function, and from there we'll jump to these functions and understand that what these functions are all about. So I'm heading towards the main function first. So here it is. So first it says print welcome to TIC-TAC-TOE while true. So with all the control statements such as while, if, for, they are terminated with the colon, and all the subsequent statements which belong to that particular control statement will have one tab space. So notice that all these statements have one tab space. It says that all these statements are within this while loop. This is a standard process across Python programming language. So it is saying that it is having a variable the board equals to, with a single quotes, where a list is going to be created cross 10. So it is like a space of 10 entries would be created and stored in the variable the board. Here it is calling a function player underscore input, and this function, the return of this particular function will be stored in these variables. So let's see that what is this player underscore input function. Here we have this player underscore input functions. Each of the functions in the Python will be preceded with this three-letter word DEF. The DEF stands for definition. Just like your control statement, all your definitions of the function will also be terminated with colon, and all those lines which are belonging to that particular function will have one tab space. Now this particular function continuously takes in a player input until it gets a correct answer and assigns their marker as X or O. So it is continuously looking for an input from the user. Do you want to be X or O? And in the uppercase, so you're storing that value into the variable marker, and until unless the variable that the user is passing, until unless it is X or O, this loop will not terminate. Only when user gives the correct entry as X or O, then only the value will be stored into the variable marker, and it says that if marker equals to X, then you return X and O, else you return O and X. So let's assume a case that user have given an entry as X. So in that case, the return values would be X and O. This X and O would be stored in these variables. So it says that player 1 marker variable will have X and player 2 marker will have the value O. So at this particular place, we have decided that what is the symbol with which player 1 marker is going to play, and with what marker player 2 is going to play. Now then we call another function choose first, and the return of this choose first function would be stored in the variable turn. Now this choose first function is shown here. Now this choose first function, we are going to use a function called random.randint. So this function uses the random module to randomly decide which player goes first. Right? So with the help of this random.randint, we decide that particular thing, and the return value would be stored in the variable named turn. And then you print that turn plus will go first. This will help the user understand that who is going to play when. Then you assign the variable game on equals to true, telling that you have started your game process. So we move here while game on. So obviously your game on is true in this particular case. You made this particular variable, a boolean variable game underscore on as true. So when this variable is true, it says that if turn equals to player 1. So if your player 1, which is if this turn variable will have an entry as player 1 or player 2. So if that entry have a value called player 1, then this section will be operated. On this section, your first function is, let's assume that at this time your turn is for player 1. So we call a function display underscore board and the board. Remember, this the board variable is holding a list of 10 blank spaces. So it calls display board function. So let's see what is this display board. We come to this function. So this function is like def display board. Now this function of display board is first trying to clean your terminal wherever you are going to see the output, and then with the help of this particular thing, we are going to create a matrix kind of a structure which would look like this. This is what we are going to expect from this thing. So at every place you can notice that here we are trying to assign, say, we are saying board 7, board 8, board 9, board 4. So right from here, board 1, board 2, board 3. These would be locations where the marker X or 0 would be placed. And this is organized in such a way that it will give me this kind of an image. So this will act as a 3x3 grid in which your marker 0 or O and X would be played. And in case they are diagonally available or they are vertically available or they are horizontally available, we say that condition is met and game is over or a particular player have won. So that's the idea of this display board function. Now once we got our board ready, next is you call the function player_choice and you are passing the argument as the board. So this function player_choice will return a value which we will store in variable position. So let's see what is there in this player_choice. So here's the function of player_choice, and in this particular function it is asking for a player's next position between 1 to 9 and then uses the space_check function to check if it is a free position. So if whatever the value user have entered, that position is free, then it will return the position for its later use. So here in case there is a availability of particular location, it is available, then it will return that position and that will be stored in this variable position. Then you call another function place_marker and you pass the argument as the board, player1_marker and the position. So whatever position player have chosen at that position is mentioned here. Then player1_marker is like whatever player 1 have chosen here, maybe X or O, whatever, and the board is the location exactly where the markers would be placed. We are calling the function placeMarker. So this placeMarker function is mentioned here. So you call this placeMarker. This board variable is going to hold the variable the board. Marker is your player 1 marker and the position is the position which user wants to insert that marker. So with the help of this particular function, the respective marker which is assigned to player 1 stored in this particular location of the board. Now once the respective marker have been placed in the accurate position as mentioned by the player, then you try to call another function that if win_check the board player 1 marker. So this function is defined here, and with the help of this function we want to understand whether someone have won. So if you notice carefully that it is going to return if board 7 equals to mark and board 8 equals to mark and board 9 equals to mark, that if we have the same mark in all of these three locations, then it is like horizontally marks have been matched and it will declare that someone as a winner. Whereas it is like 4, 5 and 6, so it is more like another horizontal in the middle, this is 1, 2, 3 horizontal in the bottom, then we have 7, 4, 1, this is like down the middle. So all of the possible positions have been taken care. We say that if you got the correct marker in all of these locations, then because of certain rules of the tic-tac-toe game, being horizontal, vertical or diagonal, someone have win the game. So this checking is done in the function winCheck. So here you're calling this, you're passing that marker of player 1 and you're identifying that whether anyone have succeeded. Then you're displaying the board, you're calling a display_board function. This display_board function will again try to display the board, that how it looks like, that whether all the marker positions are available. If it is so, if you're getting a true value from this particular function, then you will display the board and you print a message, congratulations, you have won the game, and you make the variable game_on as false, telling that game is over. Else, if this particular function does not return a true value, means none of the entries are fulfilling the requirement to finish the game, then you call for another function that is full underscore board underscore check. So let's see what is there in this function. So this function of full underscore board underscore check, it's trying to identify whether a board is full and it returns a boolean value. It will return true if the board is full, else false. You're calling this function to verify that all your entries in the board have been done, yet no one have won the game. So in that situation, it will try to print a message that game is tied. So else it will print turn equals to player 2. This was the entire stuff done by player 1. So if I repeat everything done in this particular function, so first when your turn value is equals to player 1, so it will display the board, then it will take the choice from the player, find the correct position and place it. So with the help of this place marker, it will place the particular marker of player 1 at the position decided by the player, and then it will try to identify that whether because of this new entry, whether player 1 is able to win because of the diagonal, horizontal and vertical rules of tic-tac-toe game. If it is succeeded in winning, then it will print the message, congratulations, you have won the game, and it will make your variable go false. Else it tries to check that whether your board is full. Means you have made all the entries in your board, but you have not succeeded, so it will print the message that game is a draw. Still, in case you have not won and your board is still not full, it means now it's a turn for player 2 to give its entry. It jumps to player 2, and in player 2 also the same thing happens. It takes the entry from the user, exactly at what position you want to place your marker. Then with the help of place marker function, it is trying to place that marker at that particular location. Then in win check, it is trying to understand that whether because of this new entry into the board, whether the player 2 have won the game. In case player 2 have won, it will print a message player 2 has won and make the game on as false. Else it will try to verify that whether all the entries in the board are available and yet no one have won the game. So in that situation, it will print the message game is tied. Else, if there are more available positions in the board and yet you have not fulfilled the criteria to win the game, so then it means it's another turn for player 1 to continue the game. So basically this process will keep on going until unless all the values in the board gets full. When it gets full, it will break the control from this loop and it comes out, and then if it's asked if not replay, then you break. So that way you can terminate that. In case you don't want to again repeat the entire game, then you can break the control. So it's calling a function, it's not of replay. So what is this replay function? So let's check that out as well. It is saying that in the replay function, it is requesting an input from the user that do you want to play again, enter yes or no, dot lower in the lowercase and start with y. So in case you type y, it will repeat the process, else it will terminate. So this is the entire programming for this simple tic-tac-toe game using Python program. Let me demonstrate you the implementation of this game and show you that how exactly this game works. For that, let me jump to my Ubuntu console. So I'll open my terminal. On this terminal, I have already kept that game with the name tic-tac. So I'll just open that game for you, nano tic-tac.py. And this is the entire program that we have. Now when I try to execute this program using Python, so this is how it will look like. When I hit enter, it gives me a welcome, that welcome to tic-tac-toe. Player 1, do you want to be X or 0? So let me give my marker as, let's say, X. I hit enter. And this is the grid I was talking about. This is the display board, a 3x3 grid, which is available to me. And it is asking me to choose your response between 1 to 9. That exactly at what location you want to put. So this is location 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is asking me that choose your next position. So it have randomly selected that whether this time player 1 is going to be taken or player 2, I don't know. So let's say, let me choose my favorite position of 5. So at this time, the marker that I have chosen that is placed at my desired position. and this time it is asking me for a new entry for the second user. So let's say the second user, whoever is playing along with me, have given its entry at 1. So at first position I'll get that O or 0. Now this is my chance, so I'll say, let's say at third position I want to give my entry. Now this is player 2 who wants to block my winning process, so they will say at the 7th position. Now since I also want to block player 2 to win, so I'll give it at 4th position. Now player 2 would also want to block me from winning, so it will give at 6th position. So let's say I'm giving at 2nd position, and player 2 will be giving at 8th position. Then I can only give at 9th position, and it says that the game is draw because no one has succeeded to win the game. It's asking that whether you want to play again, yes or no. So if I say Y, it repeats the process. So again I'm choosing X. This time, let's say I'm continuing with 5th position. Now notice that this time this 5th position has been allocated to player 2 because who will get the chance first, that is decided with the help of a random function. So that 5th position was for player 2, so now as a player 1 I'll get a chance. So this time let's say I'm giving entry at 3rd position. Now player 2 will get a chance now. Let's say player 2 is giving entry at 2nd position. I need to block player 2 from winning, so I can give at 8th position. Now player 2 will try to get a new entry at 4th. And accidentally I am not trying to block player 2 this time, so I will choose, let's say, 1. And player 2 will easily now give an entry at 6th position by hitting enter. And here you can see that player 2 has won because this horizontal condition of tic-tac-toe is fulfilled. So player 2 have won the game. In case you want to restart the game, you can type yes or Y, or else you can type no, and it will stop the process. I hope you have understood the functioning of this simple game using Python program. This webinar helped us to understand the significance of Python programming language, its advantages, and Python ecosystem. In this webinar, we have learned how to implement basic Python programming to write simple games. There are many libraries such as WXPython, PyQt, TIC-TAC-TOE, PythonGame, etc., which can be used to write more complex, interesting, and graphic-intensive games using Python. Students can extend the learning of Python programming in more popular and industry-relevant areas such as machine learning and data analytics. Students can further build their career in more powerful languages for professional game development such as Java and C# using more polished GUIs. I hope you have enjoyed this webinar. Thank you for watching.